Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time we're going to be tackling reality transurfing, based on the book by Vadim Zeland. And I'm very excited about this one
Yeah.
because it's not your typical self-help book or method or anything like that. It's really a very different approach
Hmm.
to achieving your desires without all the usual struggle, and really proposes that you can almost choose your reality. So I'm really interested to hear your take on this.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things that initially drew me to this concept was this idea that you could kind of pick and choose what reality you wanted. And it really just kind of flipped the script on its head in terms of the way that we typically think about achieving goals and working towards something and,
Yeah.
having to kind of grind it out to get there. This is more about aligning your thoughts and
Mhm.
actions to kind of effortlessly attract what you want.
Oh, effortless. I love
Yeah.
the sound of that. So instead of sweating and pushing towards our goals, we're surfing towards them.
Okay.
Okay, I can get behind that. But how does this choosing your reality thing actually work?
So that's where the concept of the alternative space comes in, which is kind of one of the central tenets of reality transurfing. And it's this idea that reality is not fixed, but rather exists as this field of infinite possibilities. It's almost like this massive library. And every book in the library represents a different version of your life. And every choice that you make, every decision that you make, is like choosing a different book to read.
Whoa, so you're telling me there's a version of me out there
Hmm.
who's a rock star,
Yeah.
another me who's a master chef, and maybe even one who's like an astronaut.
Exactly. All of those possible outcomes exist in this alternative space. The life that you're experiencing right now is simply a manifestation of the choices that you've made, both consciously and unconsciously. And as we move through these potential realities, we create what Zealand calls lifelines.
Lifelines. I
Yeah.
like that it's a great way to visualize it. So we're all kind of swimming in this sea of possibilities. But if we have all these choices, why do we sometimes feel so stuck? Like we're not in control of our own lives.
That's where the concept of pendulums comes in. And pendulums are these energy structures that kind of feed off of our energy. They're almost like invisible forces. Think of them as those catchy jingles that get stuck in your head. They just latch onto your attention and they drain you. And according to Zealand, these pendulums can be organizations, they can be political parties, social trends, even just negative thought loops that we all get caught in sometimes.
Oh, those negative thought loops. I know this very well. So, like, even those are pendulums. So if we're talking about organizations or political parties, those can also be pendulums.
Exactly. And the way they hook us is through strong emotions. They play on our fears and desires. So you know how you get sucked into that heated debate online? That's a pendulum at work. It's pulling you away from your goals and into this pointless energy drain.
Oh, man. I've been there so many times. So how do we break free
Uh-uh.
from these energy vampires
Yeah.
and actually start choosing our own adventure?
Transurfing provides a few techniques for dealing with pendulums. And the first step is really awareness, just recognizing when you're feeling hooked by a pendulum. So let's say you're scrolling through social media and you feel that pang of envy. That's a sign that a pendulum is trying to control your emotions.
So being mindful of our reactions
Yeah.
is key to not getting manipulated by these forces.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once you become aware of it, you can start to use some of these techniques, like defeating the pendulum. So next time you're in that pointless argument, just disengage. Don't feed the pendulum with your energy. You'll be surprised how quickly it loses its grip.
Oh, so it's like you're starving it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of giving it more power, you're just taking away its food source.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Is there another way to handle these pendulums? We can't just like walk away.
There's also the technique of stilling the sway, which is more about calmly managing the pendulum's influence. And Zeland gives this great example in his book about his friend who was able to stop a fight that was about to break out on public transportation. By doing something completely unexpected, he completely broke the usual pattern of escalation.
Oh, so instead of fighting fire with fire, he just like changed the game completely. He disrupted that pendulum's energy.
Exactly. He chose a different response, one that the pendulum didn't expect, and it completely neutralized the situation.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to react in the way that the pendulum wants us to. We can choose a different path.
Exactly.
Okay, so these are some great techniques. Is there anything else we can do? Like, how can we prevent ourselves from getting hooked in the first place?
So a key factor in all of this is the importance that we place on things. The more we need something to be a certain way, the stronger the pendulum's hold on us is.
Okay, so it's like if I'm clinging to a life raft,
Yeah.
the tighter I grip, the harder it is to stay afloat.
Okay.
Okay, so if we can learn to loosen our grip a little bit, reduce that importance, we'll be less susceptible to those negative pendulums.
Yes, and that's where we start tapping into the power of outer intention.
Ooh, outer intention. That sounds intriguing. Tell me more. Outer intention. So this is like a whole new way of approaching our goals then.
It really is, yeah. It's about aligning your heart and mind with what you want, but not through that force or struggle, but by tapping into this deeper energy flow. Think of it like setting a sail and letting the wind carry you towards your destination instead of rowing against the current.
So instead of like white-knuckling our way to success, we're kind of going with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. Zeland actually says that when we rely too heavily on what he calls inner intention, that pushing and striving, we actually create this excess potential that can block our goals from manifesting. It's almost like overwatering a plant. Too much effort can actually be detrimental.
So with outer intention, we're kind of surrendering a little bit.
Hmm.
We're letting go of that need to control every step and trusting that things will unfold in the right way.
Yeah, exactly. One of the ways that you can cultivate this trust is through visualization, or what Zeland calls creating slides. But it's not just about picturing what you want. It's about feeling it as if it's already happening, like almost stepping into a movie screen and experiencing your desired reality with all of your senses.
So it's not just seeing myself like sitting in the corner office. It's like feeling the joy of actually having landed that dream job.
Precisely, it's that energy of feeling that actually attracts the desired reality. And speaking of energy, Zeland introduces this other really fascinating concept called the dual mirror.
Dual mirror. This is sounding a little Alice in Wonderland here.
It kind of is. It's this idea that the world is like a giant mirror, reflecting our beliefs and attitudes back to us. But there's a time delay. So what we experience today is often a reflection of what we were focused on in the past.
Oh, so if I'm constantly dwelling on problems and negativity, that's just going to create more of that in my life.
Exactly. But the good news is it works both ways. Focusing on the positive, even when things are tough, can actually attract more positive experiences into our reality.
So it's like choosing to see the glass half full,
Yeah,
even when it feels empty. And
exactly.
just like that saying, what you focus on expands. So if we can train our minds to look for opportunities and solutions, we'll start seeing them everywhere.
Yeah, and Zeland actually gives a practical tool for working with this mirror principle. It's called the mirror technique.
Okay, mirror technique. Tell me more about this.
So it's really about becoming aware of your thoughts and reactions
Yeah.
throughout the day. And when you notice yourself dwelling on negativity, you make a conscious effort to shift your focus to something positive.
So let's say I'm like totally stressed out
Mhm.
about an upcoming presentation at work. Instead of like spiraling into anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
I could visualize myself like confidently delivering that presentation
Yeah.
and getting amazing feedback.
Exactly. And it's not just seeing it, feeling that confidence, that ease, the satisfaction of a job well done. It's about aligning your energy with the outcome that you desire.
This is starting to sound a little bit like manifestation, but with like a deeper understanding of how reality actually works.
Yeah, there are definitely some similarities, but reality transurfing goes beyond just positive thinking. It's about consciously choosing what we reflect back to the world, knowing that our inner world shapes our outer experience.
This is all incredible. But what about those times when life just throws us a curveball? How do we stay positive when we're faced with like real challenges and setbacks?
So that's where coordinating intention comes in. It's about recognizing that every event presents us with a choice. We can either react with negativity and fear, or we can choose to see the opportunity for growth and learning. It's like choosing which path to take at a fork in the road.
So even when we're faced with like a really difficult situation, we still have a choice in how we respond.
Exactly.
It's not about pretending that everything is perfect. It's about choosing our perspective and focusing on the best possible outcome.
Exactly. Zeland says that every event has two potential branches of realization, a favorable one and an unfavorable one. And our attitude determines which branch we experience.
So we could actually turn a negative situation into a positive one
Yeah.
just by choosing a different perspective.
It's like he talks about this idea of turning the key to shift your energy from negativity to possibility.
Okay, that's pretty powerful. But how do we make sure that we're consistently turning the key
Yeah.
and choosing that favorable branch?
Well, Zeland recommends incorporating specific techniques into our daily routine to kind of keep us aligned with the principles of reality transurfing.
Okay, what kind of techniques are we talking about?
One really powerful technique is called transaction, and it involves two key elements, turning the key and visualizing your target slide. So you start by shifting your energy from negativity to possibility, and then you vividly imagine your desired outcome.
So it's like a daily ritual to align our energy with our desires and remind ourselves of the power of outer intention.
Exactly. And he actually suggests practicing transaction while walking in a relaxed state because walking helps activate the energy centers in our body and it enhances the flow between our heart and mind.
So getting those good vibes flowing. Literally. Okay, but to be honest, it's so easy to get caught up in the daily grind and forget about all of this. How do we make these principles a part of our everyday lives?
The key is consistent practice. The more we apply these techniques, the more natural they become. It's like learning a new language or a musical instrument. It takes time and effort,
Yeah.
but the more you practice, the more fluent you become.
This is making a lot of sense, but I have to admit, a part of me is still a little skeptical. Like, is this really possible? Can we really change our reality just by changing our thoughts and beliefs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how someone might be a little bit skeptical. It's a big shift in thinking for a lot of us.
Yeah, for sure. But Zeland actually addresses this directly in the book, and he encourages people
Uh-huh.
to test these principles out, to experiment and see what happens in their own lives. It's not about blind faith, it's about open-minded exploration.
Yeah, I like that. It's about taking it for a test drive and seeing what happens. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into reality transurfing, I wanted to touch on one specific area where I think these principles can be really powerful, and that's goals.
Yeah, goals are a great example. Reality transurfing has a very unique way of approaching goals, and it really starts with understanding the difference between inner intention and outer intention.
We talked about outer intention a little bit earlier, but can you just remind me, what's the difference between that and inner intention?
Yeah, so inner intention is kind of what we're all used to. It's that pushing, striving, forcing things to happen, that go-getter mentality. But it often leads to struggle and resistance.
Because we're kind of swimming upstream,
Exactly.
fighting against the natural flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Outer intention, on the other hand, is about aligning ourselves with the flow of the alternative space. It's about letting go of that tight grip on the outcome and allowing our goals to manifest effortlessly.
So instead of obsessing over every single step
Yeah.
and micromanaging the process, we're kind of focusing on the what and trusting the universe to handle the how.
Precisely. It's about releasing that importance that we place on the goal and trusting that things will unfold in the right way.
That's easier said than done, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We're so conditioned to believe that. We had to hustle and grind to achieve anything worthwhile.
Yeah, it's a very common belief. But, Zeland suggests that this actually creates excess potential that can block our goals from materializing. It's like overwatering a plant. Too much effort can actually be detrimental.
Okay, so how do we practically apply outer intention to our goals then?
So one way is to practice detachment from the outcome, not in a sense of apathy, but in a sense of trust that things will work out as they should. It's like sending a letter and trusting that the Postal Service will deliver it. You don't have to follow the mail track and worry about every step of the journey.
Okay, so I'm seeing the difference in approach here. It's about trusting the process, focusing on the bigger picture, and having faith that the universe will take care of the logistics.
Exactly. And it does require a certain level of trust in the natural order of things. But that trust can be cultivated through practice and seeing the results firsthand.
So it's about taking that leap of faith and seeing where it leads us.
Yeah, and remembering that even if things don't go exactly as planned, there's always a lesson to be learned and a new opportunity to align with our true desires.
Okay, I love that. Now, another area where I think reality transurfing can be really helpful is relationships.
Oh, definitely.
Because that's another area where I think a lot of us could use a little less struggle and a little more ease.
Yeah, for sure.
So how does reality transurfing help with that?
So it starts with understanding what Zeland calls dependent relationships, which are relationships that are based on conditions and expectations.
Yeah.
It's that if you do this, then I'll do that mentality. And these types of relationships create a dynamic of polarization, which often leads to conflict and disharmony.
Because we're trying to control the other person and make them fit into our mold.
Exactly.
And that just creates resistance and resentment.
Exactly. So transurfing suggests that the key to really healthy relationships is releasing that need to control and embracing authenticity. It's a very simple but powerful principle. Be yourself and allow others to be themselves.
It sounds so simple, but I can see how challenging that can be in practice. We're so used to trying to change people or mold them into what we think they should be.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift in thinking, but the rewards are well worth the effort. When we release that need to control, we open ourselves up to a whole new level of connection and intimacy, where both individuals feel free to be their true selves without fear of judgment.
That's beautifully said. It's about creating a space where both partners can flourish and grow.
Yeah.
without feeling confined or restricted.
Exactly. It's about celebrating each other's individuality while also nurturing the connection between you.
Well, this has been such an insightful exploration. We've covered so much ground today, from the structure of reality and the power of intention to the importance of awareness and choice and authenticity.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey for sure. We've explored pendulums and slides and the dual mirror and so many other mind-bending concepts that can really help us consciously create the lives that we desire.
I, for one, am feeling very inspired to put these principles into practice and see what kind of magic unfolds.
Yeah, the power to create your reality lies within you. All you have to do is choose it.
That's a great reminder. Well, that's all the time we have for our deep dive into reality transurfing. But the exploration doesn't end here. Keep those minds open, those intentions clear, and those hearts full of possibility.
Until next time, happy transurfing.